Her first words to me weren't a greeting. They were a judgment. Emily deserves stability, Noah. You're still trying to find yours, aren't you? The dining room went quiet. The clink of silverware froze midair. I looked across the table at Emily, hoping for her defense, but she stared at her plate, trapped between loyalty and fear. Her mother, Marion Hale, smiled with the kind of grace that could slice glass. Don't mistake honesty for cruelty, she added, swirling her wine. I just believe marriage should elevate, not rescue. I swallowed hard, forcing a polite smile, even as something in me cracked. I had spent months trying to earn Marion's respect, bringing flowers, showing up early, being patient through her quiet condescension. But that night she stopped pretending. I wasn't family. I was a project, one she disapproved of. When Emily finally met my eyes, they were filled with apology, not courage. That was the night I realized I wasn't just marrying Emily. I was marrying her mother's control. Marion didn't attack with words, not directly. She preferred subtler weapons: doubt, suggestion, silence. She'd lean across the counter while Emily cooked and whisper, "Are you sure Noah can afford all this? Maybe you should handle the bills for now." Or she'd visit unannounced, bringing helpful advice, always framed as concern. "Marriage needs a strong woman to keep it steady," she'd say with that delicate smile. "Men get distracted." Emily would nod, uncomfortable but compliant. And each time I'd lose another inch of space in my own home. At first I tried humor, patience, and even diplomacy. But the more I yielded, the more she expanded. Her perfume lingered in our hallway, her rules echoed in our arguments. Soon I wasn't sure if Emily's voice was her own anymore, or just an echo of Marion's. And when I asked Emily, "Why does she hate me so much?" she answered softly, "She doesn't. She loves me too much." That's when I understood. Love, in Marion's hands, was just control dressed as care. The first real crack came on our anniversary. I'd spent weeks planning a surprise weekend getaway, just us, no interference. But when I got home that evening, Emily stood by the window, pale, anxious. "Mom's not feeling well," she said. "I can't leave her." I stared, confused. "Emily, she was fine this morning. You said she was having brunch with friends." "She just called. She's dizzy. I need to be there." I didn't argue. I just watched her pack her bag. By midnight, I was sitting alone at the dinner table, candles melted, food cold, silence heavy. The next morning, Marion posted pictures on social media, her and Emily at a charity luncheon. Smiling. Perfect. Healthy. I didn't say a word. I just saved the photo. Proof, not of her lie but of her power. Because it wasn't about sickness. It was about control, and she had it. Completely. People think control looks like shouting. But Marion's power was quieter, a performance of grace that made resistance look cruel. She'd tell Emily, "Noah's working so hard, don't burden him with your feelings." Then she'd tell me, "Emily's been crying a lot lately. Maybe she doesn't feel seen." She played us like instruments and we both danced to her tune. The day I found the signed property transfer papers, our shared apartment placed under Emily's name alone, I didn't feel anger first. I felt stupid. I'd been blind. "Mom just suggested it's safer this way," Emily said, eyes downcast. "In case something happens." Something had happened. Trust had evaporated. That night, I looked at Emily and saw a woman torn in two, one half mine, one half hers. And somewhere inside, a colder part of me whispered, "If she's building a kingdom of control, I'll learn how to dismantle it, brick by brick." Marion's presence grew even when she wasn't there. Her opinions filled our dinner table. Her voice lived in Emily's sentences. I started keeping a journal, notes, patterns, small manipulations. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was preparation. She'd underestimate me because I was quiet. But silence, I learned, is the best camouflage. Emily once asked me why I'd stopped fighting back. "Because I'm listening," I said. To her it sounded peaceful. But inside, I was studying every thread Marion had woven between us. Love had become a battlefield disguised as family. And I was done losing. Marion began scripting our lives. Literally. She'd call Emily and say, "When Noah gets home, ask him about his finances. Make him feel safe opening up." The next day, Emily would repeat it word for word as if reading from memory. It wasn't even subtle anymore. One evening, I came home early and caught them on a video call. Marion was whispering, coaching Emily through an argument they planned to stage. I didn't interrupt. I just watched. Emily's eyes were wet, her voice shaky. "He's not the man I thought he'd be," she rehearsed. Marion smiled. "Good. Make him doubt himself. He'll cling harder." That night I pretended I didn't see. I played along, let the script unfold. Because somewhere inside the shock was hardening into something colder, resolve. I wasn't going to fight Marian in her arena of manipulation. I was going to rebuild my own stage, and let her perform herself into ruin. The distance between Emily and me became measurable, literal. She'd sit at the edge of the bed now, scrolling through her phone, her laughter reserved for someone else on the other end. Marian. Always Marian. The woman who once couldn't sleep without my arm around her now sleeps with her phone on her chest, waiting for her mother's midnight messages. At breakfast, Emily would say things that didn't sound like her. You should focus on your own growth, Noah. Mom says independence is attractive. I wanted to scream, to ask who she was becoming. But instead I nodded, quiet, careful. Because when someone is brainwashed, confrontation only strengthens the hypnotist. So I learned patience, painful, strategic patience. And one evening while Emily slept, I backed up her messages. Every word. Every manipulation. Every command from Marian chipped away at our marriage. It wasn't revenge yet. It was documentation. And the truth, once exposed, would be my weapon. It was the company gala, the first one I'd been invited to as senior project manager. I wanted Emily beside me, proud, radiant. But she came cold, distracted, her phone always within reach. During the dinner, Marian called. Emily excused herself and stepped out. 10 minutes later, she returned pale, shaking. She said, I shouldn't let you embarrass me tonight, Emily whispered. That your kind of success is temporary. Her kind of success. Her words, not Emily's. I tried to shake it off, to continue smiling for the cameras, but something in me cracked when a colleague asked, Is your wife okay? She looks like she doesn't want to be here. And when Emily left halfway through, saying she needed space to think, the humiliation was complete. I drove home alone that night. But before going inside, I sat in the car, headlights off, staring at our window. I could see her silhouette inside, her phone glowing, talking to Marian. That was the moment I stopped trying to fix it, and started planning how to make them both answer for it. A week later, I went to Marian's house. She greeted me with feigned surprise, wearing pearls and that soft smile that masked cruelty. Noah, she said, to what do I owe the visit? I wanted to shout, to tell her I knew everything. But she leaned closer and whispered, You can't win, dear. Emily listens to the stronger voice. And that's not you. Her words were honeyed venom. I stood there, pulse pounding, realizing something chilling. She wasn't afraid of losing Emily. She was afraid of losing control. And that was her weakness. So instead of yelling, I smiled. You're right, Marian. I've been the wrong kind of man. But I'm learning. I left her house quietly, leaving her confused by my calm. That was the first day she lost her sense of certainty. And that's when real revenge began, not through rage but through reason. Marian didn't know I'd found her secrets. Buried in those messages were more than manipulation. There were confessions. Things she'd done to maintain her power. Lies she'd told Emily about me. False claims she'd spread to Emily's friends. About my job, my past, even my loyalty. I printed them all. Dozens of screenshots, arranged chronologically like a story, her story. The next time Emily started another argument, this one about a loan she said I'd hidden, I didn't fight back. I just slid the folder across the table. Before you talk, read this, I said quietly. She did. Her hands trembled. Tears welled. Each page was a wound opening wider. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It was sorrow, deep, tired sorrow. Because I realized revenge wasn't about destroying someone. It was about making them see. And for the first time, Emily finally saw. Not me, but the monster behind her mother's mask. Emily didn't speak to me for 3 days after reading those messages. She cried in the shower, slept in the guest room, and walked through the house like a ghost. I didn't chase her. I didn't apologize for what she had seen. Because silence, I'd learned, was more powerful than defense. On the 4th day, she approached me, voice trembling. She's been lying to me for years, hasn't she? I nodded. She said you'd ruin me, that you'd use me for money. The irony burned in my chest. Marian had always been the one using us, our lives, our marriage as a stage for her power. Emily covered her face. I don't know who I am without her. That confession shattered me more than anything. Because in her eyes I saw a child, one who had never been allowed to grow without her mother's strings. I held her. Quietly. No words, no blame. Just the ache of two people finally realizing how deep the poison went. Marian must have sensed the shift. She called, texted, and demanded to see Emily. When Emily didn't respond, the tone changed. The next morning I woke up to a storm. My office inbox was flooded with anonymous complaints. My company's HR received screenshots, fabricated messages, proving I'd stolen project funds. Every one of them traced back to a private email Marion had used once before. She was fighting back, loud, desperate, reckless. I could have confronted her immediately, but I didn't, because people like Marion expose themselves when they panic. Instead, I calmly compiled every message, every falsified document. Then I spoke to my company's legal counsel, providing proof of manipulation and harassment. Marion wanted a public humiliation. What she didn't realize was that I was giving her exactly that, only this time she'd be the one under the spotlight. Emily agreed to one final dinner with her mother, to end things properly. I knew Marion would treat it like a performance, a last chance to regain control. So I prepared. I wired the room with discreet recorders, not for revenge but for protection. At the restaurant, Marion arrived radiant, polished, dripping with confidence. "I forgive you both," she said, smiling like a saint. "You've been confused." But as the conversation deepened, her mask slipped. She accused Emily of betrayal, of abandoning the only person who truly cared. Her voice rose. Her control cracked. Then she turned to me, venom in her tone. "You'll never be enough. You can wear a suit, smile at the world, but you'll always be a fraud." Emily flinched. The entire restaurant went silent. And that's when I pressed record, in plain sight. Marion froze. Her illusion shattered, not by force but by truth witnessed. The recording spread faster than I anticipated. It wasn't leaked by me. Emily's cousin, who had overheard the chaos, shared it privately with family. From there it spread like wildfire. The woman who once dictated every whisper in her social circle suddenly became the subject of gossip herself. She controlled her daughter's marriage? She called her son-in-law a fraud in public? Marion's pristine image crumbled. Invitations stopped. Her friends distanced themselves. She called Emily dozens of times, sobbing, begging, threatening. Emily blocked her. For the first time, silence came not from me, but from the woman who once couldn't live without an audience. And yet, even as justice unfolded, something in me felt hollow. Victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt like standing over the ashes of something that once mattered. Weeks passed before Marion showed up at our doorstep. Her makeup was smeared, her voice quieter than I'd ever heard. "I lost everything," she whispered. "You've destroyed my life." I should have felt satisfaction, the kind she once fed on when I was broken. But instead I saw something pitiful, a woman who'd built her worth on control, now powerless. "I didn't destroy you, Marion," I said softly. "You just ran out of people to manipulate." She glared at me. "You think you've won?" I smiled faintly. "No. I think we both lost something we can't get back." She left without another word. And as I watched her go, Emily placed her hand in mine. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Every day," I said. "But I'd regret more if I'd stayed silent. Because revenge, I'd learned, doesn't give peace, it only restores balance. And even balance comes at a cost." For a few days, life felt eerily quiet with fewer messages. No more visits. No more whispers in our marriage. But quiet isn't peace. It's just the echo of what used to be noise. Emily smiled more, tried harder, but her laughter never reached her eyes. She had cut off her mother, yet it felt like she'd amputated a piece of herself. At night, I'd wake to find her sitting on the balcony, scrolling through old pictures. Her mother at birthdays, holidays, graduation. She didn't cry. She just stared like she was looking at a ghost she both loved and hated. One night I joined her. "Do you miss her?" I asked. She nodded, voice trembling. "You can hate someone and still miss them." That sentence stayed with me long after she fell asleep. Because in that moment I realized, revenge can destroy your enemy but it never frees you from what you've shared. The world doesn't forget quickly. Marion's friends whispered, journalists speculated, family members took sides. Some believed I'd orchestrated everything. "He humiliated her," they said. "He wanted to ruin her reputation." Others blamed Emily. She betrayed her own mother. We stopped attending family gatherings. We moved to a smaller apartment across town. Marion's health began to decline, not dramatically but slowly, visibly. Rumors said she'd withdrawn from everyone, barely left her house. When Emily told me she wanted to visit, I hesitated. But I saw in her eyes that this wasn't about reconciliation. It was about closure. So we went. The woman who opened the door was not the same one who once ruled every room. She looked smaller, softer, human. Emily kneeled beside her. I'm not here to hate you, she whispered. I just need to let go. Marian's eyes filled with tears. I wanted the best for you, she murmured. No, Emily said gently. You wanted control. You never noticed when it stopped being love. They hugged. Not out of forgiveness, but out of exhaustion. And as I watched, I realized revenge had ended the war, but forgiveness was the only thing capable of ending the pain. We left Marian's house in silence. The sky was dim, the air heavy, the kind of evening that makes you reflect more than speak. Emily slipped her hand into mine. I think I'm done fighting, she said. I smiled faintly. Maybe we were never meant to win, just to learn. That night, I looked through our old wedding photos. Marian's smile was radiant, proud, unbroken. I tore none of them. Because even the people who hurt us the most still built parts of who we are. Revenge gave me justice but not peace. Forgiveness gave me peace but not justice. Somewhere between those two truths, life began again. Quietly, gently, imperfectly. And for the first time in years, I slept without bitterness in my chest. Because sometimes breaking someone's illusion of control isn't about destroying them. It's about freeing yourself from theirs. The weeks after that visit felt strangely peaceful. Arguments, no hidden tension, just the slow return of normal life. But silence carries its own heaviness. There were mornings when Emily wouldn't speak at all, just sip her coffee and stare into the steam like it held the answers she'd lost. I wanted to fix it, but I couldn't. Because some wounds aren't visible. They live between moments and things left unsaid. One night she whispered, "Do you ever wonder if we became the villains?" I didn't answer right away. Yes, I finally said. But maybe villains are just people who refuse to stay victims. We didn't speak after that. We just held each other, aware that love after war feels more like survival than romance. And though the house was finally quiet, I realized peace isn't the absence of noise. It's learning to live with the echoes. I found the box while cleaning the closet. A small wooden chest with old letters, photos, and Marian's jewelry. Emily froze when she saw it. "She left it for you," I said. Inside was a folded note, her handwriting shaky. "For the man who saw through me. I never hated you. I hated what you reminded me of, the kind of love I never knew how to accept. Take care of her better than I did." Emily sobbed when she read it, her hands trembling over the pearls her mother once wore. I stood beside her, feeling a strange, unnameable grief. Not for Marian but for what could have been. Forgiveness had arrived not as a gesture but as a ghost, haunting and soft. I placed the letter back in the box and said quietly, "Let's not forget her, Emily. Let's just remember her differently." Seasons passed. Emily began painting again, brighter, freer. Her canvases no longer mirrored pain but release. I started volunteering at a mentorship program, helping young couples navigate family conflict. I never told them my story, but sometimes when I saw the signs, control disguised as care, manipulation framed as love, I'd quietly intervene. Healing, I realized, isn't loud. It's the slow rebuilding of small things: trust, laughter, purpose. One evening, Emily showed me a new painting, two figures walking apart under a dim sky, light breaking between them. "What's it called?" I asked. She smiled sadly. "Freedom looks like goodbye." I kissed her forehead and whispered, "Then let's never forget what goodbye taught us." We didn't need perfection anymore. Just honesty, and the courage to keep living without illusions. Months later, Marian's name appeared again, in a video online. She was older, frilier, sitting in a modest nursing home. The headline read, "Former socialite opens up about family estrangement." I clicked play. Her voice trembled. Control isn't love. It's fear, fear of being forgotten, fear of losing relevance. I hurt the people I claim to protect. If they ever hear this, I hope they know I finally understand. Emily watched beside me, tears sliding down her cheeks. "She's trying," she whispered. For the first time I didn't feel anger. Just a strange, fragile peace, the kind that comes when the past stops being a wound and becomes a scar. I turned off the screen and took Emily's hand. "We don't need to respond," I said. She already heard our silence. And for once, silence was enough. Years later, I found myself staring in the mirror, older, quieter, maybe wiser. The man who once fought to be seen was now content with invisibility. Emily's laughter filled the kitchen. She was humming, barefoot, alive. Marian's portrait hung on the wall, not as a reminder of pain but as part of our story. Sometimes, late at night, I think about the line between love and control, forgiveness and surrender. And I wonder how thin it really is. I didn't just break her illusion of control, I shattered my own too. Because control is what made me fight, win, and ultimately lose pieces of myself along the way. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: revenge can make you powerful. Forgiveness makes you free. And though I carry the weight of what I've done, I finally understand, freedom isn't revenge. It's peace.